Scott Bartlett, filmmaker Sean Murphy, and C.W. Penny, NL HorrorCon. What is that? And welcome back. I would like to welcome to the show Scott Bartlett, writer. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Darren. Good to be here.
Tell us about your writing career, sir. How long have you been writing?
Well,
a little synopsis on your books.
Sure. Well, I started when I was 15 years old. I've always been a huge reader, especially a huge sci-fi reader. Mm-hmm. And I just got the urge when I was 15 to create the sort of experiences for other people that I'd had reading sci-fi.
Right.
So my first book, the first book I attempted to write wasn't quite sci-fi, but the first book I completed was sci-fi. And that was in high school.
Yeah.
And I kind of just went from there. So the journey has been, well, I'm 34 now, so it's going on 2 decades, and I was able to go full-time around 7 years ago.
So full-time as a writer in Newfoundland?
Yeah, well,
excellent.
I serve a global audience, so
yes.
I'm mostly digital first, I guess. So
yeah.
Audiobooks are my main, that's where my main readership is, and then it's
okay.
ebooks, and print is actually a distant third, which is pretty typical of indie authors.
So where would somebody find your ebooks? On what sites?
Amazon.
Everything Amazon.
Yeah, that's right. Kindle.
Okay.
Yeah, the Kindle store.
Enter the Kindle store.
Exactly.
How many books do you have published?
Roughly 25. I don't have an exact count, but it's somewhere around there.
And all sci-fi genre?
Mostly, yeah. So Super Carrier, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later,
yep.
is that was the first one that I published in space opera / military sci-fi, mm-hmm. and that's mostly what I've been publishing since then.
Right.
My first 7 books before that bounced around dystopian sci-fi. I wrote a contemporary novel, and I threw in a medieval comedy novel just for good measure.
Sure. Excellent, excellent. Now, are you with a publisher? Or are you self-published?
So I'm independently published, and I've begun publishing other authors now as well. So I'm also acting as a publisher for others.
Okay. How do you go about, if somebody's new, they got a book written, how do they go through to become an independent author?
Well, it's actually pretty easy. You could, so I publish through KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. Mm-hmm. That's kdp.amazon.com. So you can go there and you just need your book file, a cover image, a book description, and even if you don't have it already formatted for their file format, Amazon will go ahead and format it for you. So you can be pretty bare bones about it. Mm-hmm. Where the market has matured a fair bit before, since it first took off in 2010, 2011, it's gotten a lot more competitive. And you do want to generally, if you're looking to reach a wide readership, you do want to have it to a certain standard of production. Ideally, you want it to be indistinguishable from traditionally published books on the same shelf. But in theory, it's pretty easy to do, and you can bootstrap it too. And there are different ways to keep costs down. If people have smaller budgets for production and marketing and things.
So, a person's got an idea for a book. They write the book. Does like Amazon? Do they edit the book? Do they check your spelling? Or are you still responsible for getting your own editor, making sure everything is written properly?
So Amazon does have an automatic spell check, so they will eventually, I'm guessing it's an automatic process. I assume they don't have enough staff to just review every book.
Sure.
But they will have sort of a spell checker, and it will eventually flag errors or what it thinks is errors. Usually, sometimes you have made-up sci-fi words, and it's like, hey, Amazon, that actually should be in there. I just made that up. So that's a made-up word. But other than that, as an indie author, that's sort of the reality of it. Pretty much everything is on you, and you either need to wear all of those hats, the editor hat, the cover artist hat, and so on, or you need to work with professionals who do that sort of thing and sort of manage a team. Right. That's usually if someone is coming to me and saying, should I indie publish or traditionally publish? Mm-hmm. That's what I ask them first. Are you willing to take all this on, or are you able to hire professionals to do it, or are you better off going with a traditional publisher who's going to do all that stuff for you? Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing that you can go from years ago, it's like you send your submissions out to publishers, and it's like you're hoping, and now all of a sudden it's changed around so that you can actually go online and do it yourself. That's totally amazing.
The opportunity is incredible in so many fields.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, you said you're relaunching a book.
I am, yeah. So this one is actually, it's called Super Carrier. It's book 1 in the Ixon Prophecies trilogy, which is now becoming a 6-book series.
Okay.
I have 6 books chronologically that I've just decided to sort of put it all in the same series. This is my most popular book by far. It came out at the end of 2016, but it was purchased by, the ebook rights were purchased by Amazon.
Okay.
So I recently got those back. They were kind enough to give them back to me since I have some other plans for the book.
Sure.
And now I have the opportunity to go on and relaunch it so that it's fresh to the Amazon algorithm and so that I can hopefully bring a new wave of readers into the series.
Now, basic words, launch. What will happen? So you've got this book now. What platforms will it go on? Where will people find it?
So in terms of the order that I do it, I'll first begin with maybe some social media ads, or Amazon has a self-serve platform. And it's a lot about positioning it well in the Amazon algorithm.
Okay.
So, and sort of training the algorithm what sort of book this is and what sort of customer is going to be interested in reading this. So I'll start with some very narrowly targeted ads, and I'll gradually expand those out. And then we'll get to a point where I have a mailing list of, it's now over 11,000 readers. So I'll put it out to them, and some are more targeted, some are less, some are more of a general audience.
Yep.
And we'll go through there, and then I have cross-promotion partners who will go out and promote it to their audience, and those are other authors in the same genre.
Sure, yep.
So that's roughly how it looks for me when it comes to launching a book.
Okay. And so when the book gets launched, where will it end up? Where can people find it?
So Amazon, they can find it by searching on their Kindles or their Kindle apps.
Yeah.
It's also, the entire series is an audiobook, so audible.com, they can buy it there. And paperbacks are also available for purchase through Amazon.
All through Amazon.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Got any advice for somebody that wanting to publish for the first time?
I would say definitely, keep your passion in it, but also think about what sort of readership you're writing to. So if you can marry the marketability with your passion for writing, I think that's the best advice that I could give a new writer. Think about audiences that exist, whether it's on Amazon or elsewhere, where there might not be a whole lot of competition. For example, military sci-fi space opera, at the time that I first released, it wasn't as crowded as it is now, so there was more room for someone to move in and make a name for themselves.
Sure.
So maybe look at the genres, make sure it's popular, but also not so competitive that the chance is pretty good that you can come in and make a name for yourself.
Do you find with your books the book will sell better on one platform like ebooks or on Kindle or in paperback? Is there one that's a little bit more popular than the rest?
So it's interesting. Audiobook actually became my biggest seller by a wide margin around 2 years ago. So it's an exciting market for everyone, but especially for indie authors if you're able to sort of produce it yourself or find a publishing company that you can work with, an audio publishing company. But for me, it's audio primarily, and then ebooks are my second biggest sales. And print is actually a distant third for me. That's more so the avenue of traditional publishers, whereas the ebooks that market has traditionally been dominated by indie publishers.
So really quick again now, if someone wants to find your book, where to?
Amazon.com, and just look up Scott Bartlett, or you can go to scottplots.com.
Perfect. Thank you for being on the show today, sir.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And we'll be right back. That's amazing. That camera was actually in outer space. Speaking about cameras, up next, Sean Murphy, horror producer and podcaster. I would like to welcome to the show Sean Murphy, indie filmmaker and horror podcaster. Welcome, sir.
Darren, how's it going?
Good, man.
Good.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your movies, your work.
Well, I do some indie film here on the island, looking to branch out to abroad. I debuted the first one at the first NL HorrorCon here.
Okay.
Actually, and just kept going with it ever since. I have a new one coming out very soon. We're just in pre-production now.
Okay.
I'm also working on a Winterhearth music video. COVID had delayed some of it. We've got about 95% of it shot.
Okay.
And most of that footage is edited, but we still you know, still got a ways to go with that one.
Now, back to your first movie, you debuted at Newfoundland HorrorCon.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
So it was myself, Mark Cumby, and Sean Patey threw together a short called Sleep Tight.
Okay.
It starred Monica Walsh and Tegan Murphy. Went over really well. The following year, I had another one called Family. And yeah, that's when I started acting as well as doing other stuff, wearing many hats. I'd rather not wear as many hats.
Yes.
Which is great though, because the more the ball gets rolling,
Yep.
the more of a crew you kind of assemble
That's true.
and wear less hats.
Yep, that's true. When you come up with an idea, how does it go from an idea on a piece of paper to on screen?
Usually I try to, I have a pretty crazy imagination, and I try to think of a scenario, but when I write characters for this scenario, I try to relate with them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And also certain characters I would kind of I would think of certain friends of mine,
Right.
and empathize with my friends to help create these characters if me and my friends were in this situation together, if that makes sense.
Almost like you're living the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm not, because it's all fiction.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And you write it out from there.
I write it all out from there,
So-
and then write it again, and again,
And again,
and
and
again,
again.
and again,
Yeah.
and again, because drafts, you gotta have drafts.
That's right. That's true. So you've got your story completed and your
Yep.
script done to the best of what you like.
Yep.
You
And
need
then-
actors, you need a crew. How do you get that?
Yeah, I am lucky enough to know a fair amount of people in the industry now, so I
Yeah.
can reach out to a lot of them, especially, you know, with indie work, your budget is slim to none.
Yeah.
And so friends will usually do stuff for free or cheap, which
Yep.
is my realm at the moment as
Yep.
we're starting to snowball, but it's starting to get into bigger things now. And I'll be looking for, well, I'll have more stuff on my resume to approach
Yeah.
producers with for backing certain projects soon enough.
So you mentioned your budget.
Yes, which is none.
None.
Nope.
No backing, no studios.
Well,
no,
the
nothing.
studio I run now is actually
Yep.
called No Budget Pictures.
No budget pictures.
And it's it's actually going better than I thought it would with no budget. Just because, well, I have a lot of friends who are in the same boat as I am.
That's right.
And just the more we belt out projects, just
Yeah.
the better we get and the better gear we get.
That's
and,
right.
And when you don't have money to pay actors, you end up acting in it yourself.
Yeah.
And you actually end up being a better actor because you're just used to doing it so much now.
That's right. So you're an indie producer, and a friend is, and so on yours you're the producer. On his you could be a PA or lighting. Or,
anything, right? And it's just kind of favors for favors that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, stuff like
and
that.
it works out. It's like
Yeah.
a nice little happy family.
excellent.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Is your work online? Can anybody see it right now?
There's a couple of things online. I'll be able to drop links, I guess.
Yep.
One good place to check would be No Budget Pictures on
Yep.
Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, there should be some stuff on Crimson Clover Studios on
Okay.
Facebook as well soon enough, and the YouTube channel.
And YouTube
for
channel.
that. Yeah.
All right. So let's move from that over to the horror podcasting.
Sure.
Tell us about that and who started it.
So CW Penny
Yep.
contacted me one day and had this idea for this podcast.
Right.
It's called Ramblings of a Madman. And the idea was
Good
to
title.
talk to a bunch of celebrities, mostly based on horror.
Sure.
And nothing scripted,
No.
no real questions written down, like literally just seat of our pants, just sit down and chat.
Sure.
And it ended up going a lot better than I had, well, that we both had expected, really.
That's excellent.
And I think because we never really had any specific questions lined up, that casual kind of just sit back and chill and just chat about anything,
Yep.
it really made a lot of these actors and writers and directors very, very comfortable. And it was just
like guys.
I made friends, and just made friends with all of them since, which is great. We've had writer-director Billy Pond, actor Bill Oberst Jr.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Brad Keston, he did the voice for Charlie Brown in the 80s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like the list goes on and on. And we were on a little bit of a hiatus. But the first season's done, but we're doing another season now, and we're actually just kind of securing some more names now as we speak, some bigger names, maybe some familiar faces from before.
Okay, that's neat. So how long have you been on the go with the podcast?
That started, wow, I think it was about a year ago, year and a half ago maybe, something like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was really, really fun.
Where can people find the podcast too?
You can find that on Facebook at Ramblings of a Madman, or on YouTube, Ramblings of a Madman 666.
Well, Sean, thanks for coming in today and
no problem. Thanks
giving
for
us a
having me.
little insight into your work.
Of course.
And we'll be right back after this. If you have comments or guest ideas for Pocket Universe, please email darren.pocketuniverse@gmail.com. This looks like a torture device from a horror movie. Speaking about horror movies, up next, C.W. Penny from NL HorrorCon. And welcome back. I want to welcome to the show C.W. Penny, creator and promoter for NL HorrorCon. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Tell us all about your convention, sir.
Started 3 years ago with a brainstorm idea. People like yourself would run the cons here in the island and whatnot. I woke up one morning. Obviously, I couldn't be the only horror fan in Newfoundland. Put pen to paper. Concepts came together. Put off the first event. Was successful. We went on to have their second event. Outgrew that location. You attended. You know that we outgrew that venue. And we were hoping we are still booked for St. John's for NL HorrorCon 3, and unfortunately, the COVID lockdown and everything kind of put us on a little slowdown for that. But we're pushing through, and our next event, NL HorrorCon 3, is going to be at the CLB Armory when we're allowed to open up.
We're allowed to open up again. Go back to number one. Tell us about the guests that you had there. Touch on your attendance. Where did you have it to? What was the atmosphere? Tell us a little bit about what it was like that day.
It was very loose, and I wanted to have that vibe. I wanted to have a very loose get-together, like a group of friends coming together. That was strictly done on all local talent and full support within the island. I had Engine Books come out, Mike Hickey, Hobby Horse Films, which Sean Murphy was a part of at the time. He's went on to other projects after. The list goes on and on. And a group of people, like-minded people in Newfoundland that didn't even know each other and knew that there was a huge horror community in the province came together. And it was just a beautiful thing.
You had some special guests there too, didn't you?
At HorrorCon 2, we had an out-of-province guest.
Oh, at 2. Okay,
HorrorCon 1, as I said, was done on all Newfoundland-based talent. And then I brought in a good friend of mine who played Barry in the Texas Chainsaw Next Gen. And his name was Tyler Shea Cohn.
Right, yes.
And Tyler came up from the States. I also had Charles Pico. Right? Charles was the writer and co-creator of Todd and the Book of Pure Evil.
That's right.
And obviously my mainstays that were with me from day one of the event. So,
So now this is your own event. This is not like a non-for-profit or committee. This is just something that CW came up with, and it's going forward from there.
Going forward from there. I mean, as it grows, I'm sure over the years, as it gets bigger and I can't handle it on my own accord, I guess I'll branch out and take people on as, helping directors and stuff like that.
Like board of directors.
As for right now, I'm pretty good at juggling stuff. So
good. So you say number 3 is booked for where?
CLB Armory.
And any guests lined up yet, or anything that we can talk about right now, or are we still everything is
all tentative,
pending COVID and
exactly right. Everything's on tentative agreements, handshakes and verbal agreements. I won't go back on my word with certain celebrities. But when we're allowed, we'll fly them up and we'll have a good time. So
do you have a location lined up for it right now?
For NL HorrorCon 3? Yeah, the CLB Armory.
Oh, the CLB, so you're still going to be at CLB
Yep,
Armory?
we are going to hold at the Armory.
Excellent.
That will be our first time in our provincial capital of St. John's.
Nice.
Because we started in Carbonear at a location called the Stone Jug.
Yes, yep.
And that has a history of being haunted.
Yes.
And I want to follow that trend.
Yep.
And the CLB also has a bit of a history with a story of being haunted as well. So
That's nice.
Yeah.
So that's why you picked that place.
that's exactly it.
That is. Any special events planned for that one? I know we're still, everything is tentative, but do you have any not basic, do you have any regular events that you have at your convention all the time?
There are, obviously, we have our vendors, which are a huge part of any con.
Yep.
Then we have our panels, panel guests, and last year, Mike Hickey, last event, I'll say it that way, Mike
Yep.
Hickey was the MC, and he done a wonderful job.
Yes, he did, yeah.
And if anyone is not familiar with Mike, check out all of his work. I mean, just
Yep.
look him up, and he's phenomenal at what he does. He's a brilliant speaker and a wealth of knowledge. So.
Excellent. Now, so besides your life as a convention promoter and organizer, you're also a filmmaker, actor,
Now, apparently.
apparently. So tell us a little bit about that, sir.
All right. I kind of got through into the acting gig, me opening my big mouth. So anyway, a friend of mine, James Balsamo, he's a American director. He's got 20 plus, probably 30 films under his belt.
Okay.
He's won awards.
Yep.
He has a project called 14 Ghosts coming out, and I messaged James privately because I found out that Simon Bamford, who played Butterball in a Hellraiser,
Okay,
was
yeah.
going to be in the film.
Yep.
And anyone that knows me on a personal level, I'm a
Yep.
huge Hellraiser fan.
Okay.
So anyway, I messaged James and I'm like, hey, I would like give an arm to be a part of this,
Yep.
you know? And he's
Yep.
like, well, I'm not really collecting arms,
Yep.
but we're doing remote filming,
Right, yeah.
And he's
Yep.
like, if you want to do up some scenes, here's what I need to do, and here's your script, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, do you have a camera and lights? I'm like, I got everything, man.
Got everything. Yep.
So I set it up. I done my shoots on remote location. I sent it to him. He was like, excellent.
Yep.
And now I can go to my grave saying I'm in a film with Butterball from Hellraiser.
What about Power? That's excellent.
Yeah, it's
it's
pretty
amazing what you can do now online, you know, like you can act in something that's being shot another
yeah.
part of the world and
Yeah.
you can still be a part of
And
it.
on top of that, I mean, Sabu from ECW is in it.
Oh, seriously?
Rhino from WWE's in it.
Yep.
A dear friend of mine, Sean Doucette from Moncton, he's been in multiple films. Dog Pound was one of them. He's been
Yep.
in a lot of James's films.
Okay.
So me and Sean, for the first time ever, got the chance to share the screen together.
That's nice.
So yeah, it was really good. And we literally virtually share a screen because
Yeah.
there's one scene where I'm doing a cell phone call, but it's a video call with him.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty neat.
That is neat. That is neat. All right, sir. Now, something else we want to get into.
Sure.
What do we have here?
Okay, so this is Killer's Choice Coffee.
Yep.
Back a couple of years ago when I made friends with a gentleman by the name of Dan Yeager. Dan played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Wow.
Yeah, so me and Dan hit it off. We never even became friends through the love of movies or
No.
anything that most people would assume we did.
Yep.
He likes cigars and scotch.
Okay.
And I like cigars and scotch, and that's
Okay.
how we became friends.
That's how you became friends.
So when Leatherface opened up to me and we became real good friends, he asked if I would come on as executive producer for his independent film company called Bad Anger
Wow.
Pictures.
Nice.
We're currently in the process of getting a script called Slaughter Farm made into a film which will be released as a Hollywood release when it's in production.
Congratulations.
And done. Thank you. It's a lot of legwork, but we're
Yeah.
getting there. And then he asked me to come on as vice president and PR for his coffee line, Killer's Choice Coffee. And yeah, we got. So which one is this? This is.
Killer's Choice Cup.
Okay, this Coffin Nail Blend. So this here is a chicory smoked coffee bean. We're about one of 3 companies in the world that we know of that offer a chicory smoked coffee bean. And it is very good. This one here is our flagship brand, and this is called Gravedigger. And this was our original. This was our second. This here is our third, which is a whole bean. This was the first whole bean that we done, and it was a French roast, and it's called Back from the Dead Red. And it's a spin-off, a story about a red-headed lady pirate by the name of Jacques Desharnais. And no one knows if she was real or not.
Okay.
It was kind of like a myth. So we threw the idea for a coffee blend in her honor, Back from the Dead Red, because apparently she died, but the story goes, she moved away from pirating to become a wife.
Okay.
So she kind of came back from the dead in a different life.
Different life. All right, sir. So, people want to find out about the convention. Where do they find it?
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yep, Facebook at NL HorrorCon on Facebook.
Okay.
You can find Killer's Choice on Facebook as well, or you go to www.killerschoicecoffee.com.
Yep.
You can order all of our blends. There is another blend called Shillelagh, specifically made for Irish coffee.
Perfect.
There's another top secret thing there. We're not ready to drop yet. But
Okay. Maybe next time.
maybe next time. Yeah.
All right. CW, thank you for being on the show today.
Not a problem.
And thank you. We'll be right back. Thank you to all our guests and to the Geo Center and to all of you guys for watching Pocket Universe. We will see you in the future.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.